We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
It's time to buckle up for making sense of the madness.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and the question of the day is 9/11 truth about to go mainstream, and is there the possibility of not only actual hearings regarding this matter, but some type of criminal accountability? Because I assure you, right now, we are in a position like never before where not only are, I would say, mainstream media type figures, both in politics and the public arena, not only asking the valid questions, but have the whistleblowers ready to go and the audience to push it over the top. Obviously, this is also dependent on an administration that has to be receptive of this as well. And if you've been paying attention not only to my work, but recently via Making Sense of the Madness, you absolutely know that we've been at the forefront of some of these interviews with not only Kurt Weldon, but Anthony Schaefer, who claims to have personally talked to Trump, and he says that Trump wants this stuff out there. Okay? Now, here's the deal. First of all, I'm not a hopium guy. And I've always said eventually, the truth of 9/11 will come out into the mainstream, and the overwhelming majority of the public will not believe the official version. Now, what you're seeing now is what is really the quote-unquote mainstream conservatives coming around. Because it was really back in 2004, 5, 6, when 9/11 truth was at its strongest, the run-up to the 5th anniversary, and right around there, it was at its absolute most powerful. It was people on the left and the anti-war movement. It was very, very hard to reach quote-unquote conservatives, despite this not being a left or right issue. Many people could not get beyond Bush, Cheney, etc. And don't get me wrong, you had a lot of establishment ghouls in there, like Rumsfeld and others. You understand? So you had those people come out and awaken, and many of those people stayed pretty awake. Even though they may have bought into the hope and change, they were still anti-war, they still questioned 9/11, etc. There were those, and I'm going to use this example, that were extremely valid even through a lot of the left-wing administration, like Webster Tarpley, but then would embrace TDS like you would not believe, and still does today. So that's a big problem, is that you did have so many people on the left that were asking the right questions, but then fell into this trap of just hating everything about Trump instead of taking it issue by issue and obviously giving valid criticism, which there is plenty, and falling into the Russia talking points and just every other lunatic talking point that discredits them. Now we have a chance to unify these dissident voices. And I've seen some people attacking Kurt Weldon for what he stated. Kurt Weldon has been with the Able Danger Group and that part for a very, very long time. Okay? And it did take guts to do what he did. And I've even seen people like questioning, his relationship with his daughter and all these things. No one ever got charged, right? And the bottom line is, we all know that political nepotism exists. Nepotism exists in all factions of society, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to play this short clip of Benny Johnson talking to Ron Johnson, no relation, yucky, yucky, yucky. We got jokes, folks. We got jokes. And then we're going to break it down because Ron Johnson is an imperfect being, but one of the guys that was at the forefront of the COVID-19 84 nightmare. And how many times on this broadcast have we said we don't buy into the quote-unquote lab leak theory or these other things, right? We look, it's a man-made thing. This was an operation. This is a seeded thing. And it needs to go beyond that. And I'm sure that there are going to be limitations to whatever investigation, especially, like I said, once again, these people aren't dead. Many of these people are still operational at the highest levels because this is an international intelligence operation with many different factions. You got to set up your hijackers. You got to train them. You got to fund them. That's all real. Okay? They did exist. And I put the Building 7 chapter out on my X. Please, at Jason Bermas, go there right now if you're not following me. Please share that. Give it the old retweet or the re-X or whatever it is. X it up. I don't even think I have 100 of those right now. I'd love to get 1,000 of those. So people can just look at the Building 7 chapter of Fabled Enemies. And right under there is a link to Fabled Enemies. You get into all of it. You get into the Pakistani ISI. You can get out into the Israeli operation in there. You get into the cover-up that is the 9/11 Commission that now is, again, being openly talked about. All those things that are 1,000% valid and still important to this day. And I am so proud that I was able to put that stuff out there. Now, put that movie out in 2008. Loose Change Second Edition, 2005. Loose Change Final Cut, I believe, 2006. And again, go to my playlist section and please go check it out. Right now, I need you to thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. This is true independent media. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now. Right now, people are having conversations with Grok, who's still propping up. AI is still propping up the official NIST version of events. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. I do want to thank recent donors. Andrew and Hedvika, could not do it without you guys. Also, please, again, give me a follow on X. How many are we? We're 10 people away from 46.9 thousand. All right? So what we're going to do is we are going to play this clip. And look, mainstream media still calling it conspiracy theories, still trying to invalidate this stuff, trying to paint the people that are actually asking this question as kooks. We've hit the zeitgeist. We need to push it over the top to get to accountability.
About September 11th, the official story there, Senator.
Well, start with Building 7. Again, I don't know that you can find structural engineers other than the ones that had the corrupt investigation inside NIST that would say that thing didn't come down in any other way than a controlled demolition. I mean, you just look at that. You talk about molten steel. Again, you listen to the documentary Bravo 7. There's an awful lot of questions. Who ordered the removal and then destruction of all that evidence? Totally contrary to any other firefighting investigation procedures. I mean, who ordered that? Who was in charge? I think there's some basic information. Where's all the documentation from the NIST investigation? No, there are a host of questions that I want, and I will be asking, quite honestly, now that my eyes have been opened up. I've talked to former Congressman Kurt Weldon now. I will work with him to expose what he's willing to expose as well.
Wow. So we may actually see hearings about this.
I think so. And by the way, this was opened up when my ranking member now, when he was chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee Investigation, he did the investigation on the PGA and Live Golf and the PIF. Part of that is we had 9/11 families coming forward and saying, we want the FBI files unredacted. We want those made available in terms of what happened. What did the FBI know had happened? So we got engaged with that on a bipartisan basis. We wanted to get those answers, those documents for the families. Again, we didn't get squat from the FBI. So hopefully now with this administration, I think President Trump should have some interest being a New Yorker from himself. What actually happened in 9/11? What do we know? What is being covered up? My guess is there's an awful lot being covered up in terms of what the American government knows about 9/11.
So, we're going to play the entire Building 7 chapter from Fabled Enemies in a moment. But before we do that, because he ended with the FBI and the FBI involvement, we've been talking about this for a very long time. Yes, the al-Bayoumi story has to do with the CIA, but it had to do with the FBI as well. Okay? And from my film, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, what we're going to do is we're going to play a clip of this from the 1993 World Trade Center bombing that clearly shows that, and it's admitted slyly and in the backdrop of a CBS Dan Rather piece that the FBI could have stopped the bombing from happening if they had used, harmless powder instead of the real ingredients. And you're like, what are you talking about? Seems like a big, what do you mean the FBI? What is this? Thought a bunch of Muslims under the blind sheik created a bomb and blew up the World Trade Center. And then you start hearing the taped conversations with their asset on the inside who built the bomb with the FBI and the ATF. And you're like, whoa! Because if the patsies that they had used to plant that bomb had put it on the main column, okay? Had put it on the main column, you can't, 3,000 people would be a joke. Be a joke. Those buildings can you imagine a 110-story megastructure filled with tens of thousands of people coming down from underneath the base where the subway alone would cause probably the death of hundreds, if not thousands, and then it coming into the street of a packed downtown Manhattan? I don't think people can get that. And also, in a time period that we were even less sophisticated than 9/11. The internet was around. And really, it's the internet that allowed me to explore these things. And I was at the forefront then of file share and trying to get high quality video and figuring out how to order these things. If this had happened in 93, pre-DVD era, pre-internet, can you imagine? And all those people had died. Can you imagine how much worse off we would be? So this is from Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. This is the FBI 93 section. Please thumbs this up, subscribe, and share. Here we go.
Muslim extremism seemed to show its ugly face in then unprecedented fashion on February 26, 1993. A truck bomb had gone off in the parking area of the World Trade Center. Luckily, the bombers failed to follow instructions and parked the truck carrying the explosives against the main support column. What is not discussed, however, is the bomb was actually built by an FBI informant under the supervision of the FBI. Ahmed Salam, a former Egyptian army officer who had been doing undercover work for the FBI, was the man who actually built the bomb. When he was told that he would have to use real bomb-making material instead of harmless substitutes, he became suspicious and began taping his conversations with FBI officials.
Last winter, the FBI was praised for its speed in cracking the case of the World Trade Center bombing and bringing 4 suspects to trial. Now, there is some evidence that the FBI may have known of the plot in advance through an informant and might even have stopped the bombing that killed 6 people.
Notice the media emphasizes that they might have been able to stop it. They then gloss over the fact that the bomb was built by their agent under FBI supervision in conjunction with the district attorney.
FBI agents might have been able to prevent last February's deadly explosion at New York's World Trade Center. They discussed secretly substituting harmless powder for the explosives, but they didn't, according to the FBI's own informant, Imad Salem. Unbeknownst to the FBI at the time, Salem recorded many of his conversations with his handlers.
The actual recording where Salem discusses this with his FBI handler, John Antisev, was released years after the trial.
You got paid regularly for good information. I mean, the expenses were a little bit out of the ordinary, and it was really questioned. Don't tell Nancy I told you this.
Well, I have to tell her, of course.
Well, then if you have to, you have to.
Yeah, because, I mean, the lady was being honest, and I was being honest, and everything was submitted with a receipt.
Yeah.
And now it's questionable.
It's not questionable. It's like a little out of ordinary.
Okay.
You know.
All right. I don't think it was. If that's what you think, guys, fine. But I don't think that, because we was start already building the bomb, which is went off in the World Trade Center. It was built by supervision from the Bureau and the DA, and we was all informed about it, and we know that the bomb start to be built. By who? By your confidential informant. What a wonderful, great case.
So think about that. FBI, DA know, and they talk about in the media piece that they thought about substituting harmless powder for the explosives. What you substitute? People still don't realize that. And that's something I brought up after the interview was over with Kurt Weldon as we were saying goodbye, and then he brought up the Oklahoma City piece. Okay? And Oklahoma City also has a subsection in this as we bring this timeline together. Okay? And I hope people check out Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. That's free. In fact, I may post that again on X on top of this and put it underneath Fabled Enemies. That's also fully free right there. And again, it's also in the timeline, or I'm sorry, the playlist section of the YouTube channel, the Rockfin channel, the Rumble channel. So without further ado, we are going to play the Building 7 subsection, and then at the end, we're also going to bring up Peter Dale Scott, the man that coined the term deep state, because in order to kind of understand that term, I think you should hear it firsthand, what it actually means from the guy that coined it. So here it is. Here is the Building 7 section of Fabled Enemies.
A key hub for intelligence was the Solomon Brothers building, also known as World Trade Center 7. This was a massive 47-story skyscraper that would have dominated most city skylines. At 5:20 in the afternoon, it would collapse into its own footprint. It also happened to be New York City's #1 spook house and operational center. It housed the Department of Defense, the Internal Revenue Services, the Security and Exchange Commission, the largest Secret Service office in the world, the largest CIA office outside of Virginia, and New York's Office of Emergency Management, or OEM.
Beyond the haunting presence of those still missing in the rubble, Ground Zero is filled with guns, drugs, and secrets. Number 7 World Trade Center was also the New York office of the Central Intelligence Agency. The CIA ordered the building surrounded by FBI agents shortly after it collapsed. Since then, they have been searching for computers and a safe filled with classified documents. Government agents watch the construction workers through binoculars as they search.
The OEM was where local government would rally in the case of an emergency, such as a terrorist attack or natural disaster.
The command center on the 23rd floor is bulletproof and bomb-resistant, with its own air supply and generators. It's linked to city airports, the Coast Guard, and the Pentagon. Computers will soon have detailed blueprints of every major building in New York City.
Surprisingly, it would be deserted when city officials Barry Jennings and Michael Hess arrived.
When the Office of Emergency Management did an activation, they always included our locale. I received a call shortly after the first plane hit. I got there, I had to be inside on the 23rd floor when the second plane hit. Upon arriving into the OEM EOC, we noticed that everybody was gone. I saw coffee that was on a desk. Still, the smoke was still coming off the coffee. I saw half-eaten sandwiches. And only me, Mr. Hess, was up there. After I called several individuals, one individual told me that to leave and leave right away.
Both would go on network television on 9/11 and make the claim they experienced explosions inside the building as they tried to evacuate.
I'll give you a live picture down Church Street. Fire crews now walking back toward the scene. We have seen them all morning trying to walk away, because what happens is every time a little piece of the building comes down, a huge black cloud comes at us, making it almost impossible to breathe or see anything in front of them. But now, at least for the past couple of minutes, it has been clear from this space back on Chambers in that area. So now they're walking back toward the World Trade Center. And as we keep letting you hear the personal stories, the survivor stories of exactly what happened inside the World Trade Center when that first plane went in, and of course the collapses since then, we're going to bring more of those to you now. Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the City Housing Department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hess, the Corporation Counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hess. I said, this is it. We're dead. We're not going to make it out of here. I took a fire extinguisher and I bust the window out. That's when this gentleman here heard my cries for help. This gentleman right here, and he kept saying, stand by, somebody's coming to get you. They couldn't get to us for an hour because they couldn't find us.
You thought that was it?
I thought we're dead. I thought that was it.
We have Frank Uciardo back on the phone with us, Brenda, with some New York City officials. Frank, go ahead.
That's right. I'm standing here right now just off Broadway by City Hall with Michael Hess, who is the city's Corporation Counsel. Mr. Hess, you were trapped in, I believe, 7 World Trade Center. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I was. I was up in the Emergency Management Center on the 23rd floor, and when all the power went out in the building, another gentleman and I walked down to the 8th floor where there was an explosion, and we've been trapped on the 8th floor with smoke, thick smoke all around us for about an hour and a half. But the New York Fire Department, as terrific as they are, just came and got us out.
When I made it to the 6th floor, and there was an explosion, the explosion was beneath me. Keep in mind now, it's pitch black in there. All the lights went out. So when the explosion happened, it blew us back. I'm thinking I'm standing on the landing. I'm actually holding on to a pole above us. Really? And I had to climb back up because Hess is yelling, what do we do now? I said, there's only one thing we can do, and it's go back up. Both buildings were still standing. Keep in mind, I told you the fire department came and ran. They came twice. Why? Because building Tower 1 fell, then Tower 2 fell. And then when they came back with all concern now, like, to get me the hell out of there. I was trapped in there for several hours. I was trapped in there when both buildings came down. All this time, I'm hearing all type of explosions. All this time, I'm hearing explosions. When they finally got to us, and they took us down to what they called the lobby, because I asked them, I said, when we got down there, I said, where are we? He said, this was the lobby. And I said, you got to be kidding me. It was total ruins. Total ruins. Now, keep in mind, when I came in there, the lobby had nice escalators. It was a huge lobby. And for me to see what I saw, it was unbelievable. And the firefighter that took us down kept saying, do not look down. And I kept saying, why? He said, do not look down. And we were stepping over people. And you know you can feel when you're stepping over people.
This building would fall into its own footprint at 5:20 in the afternoon at nearly free-fall speed. Almost 7 years later, there has still been no official reason given, but some have given the false impression that damage caused by the collapse of the Twin Towers brought 7 down. Despite the fact that no other surrounding buildings acted in this manner. Dr. S. Shyam Sunder would make the claim on behalf of the National Institute of Standards and Technology that on about a third of the face, to the center and to the bottom, approximately 10 stories, about 25% of the depth of the building, was scooped out. Here is the south face of World Trade Center 7. Does it look like 1/4 of the building is gone? Perhaps we should take a look inside. It appears it is not scooped out after all. Members of the media were reporting that the building had collapsed due to structural damage and fire, more than 20 minutes prior to it going down.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
The building can clearly be seen in the background as Jane Stanley reports its demise.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were...
The feed would be cut before the building collapsed.
And just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley.
They called me down. I think it was part of the 9/11 Commission. They asked me the same questions that you guys are asking me. And at that point, they said, okay, thank you. And they sent me on my way.
And yeah, you told them pretty much everything you just told us.
Yes.
That you were in the building, got rocked by an explosion,
Yes.
all that.
Yes.
And you know that they didn't mention Building 7 once in the commission report.
I told them that's where I was. It was very, to tell you, it was very scary because they looked like very important people.
Yeah.
That were questioning me about certain things. And, I don't know if they liked the answers I gave. I could care less. I gave my account of it, the truth, and that was it. That day I'll never forget. And the explanations that were given to me is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. I'm just confused about one thing, and one thing only. Why World Trade Center 7 went down in the first place. I'm very confused about that. I know what I heard. I heard explosions. The explanation I got was it was the fuel oil tank. I'm an old boiler guy. If it was a fuel oil tank, it would have been one side of the building.
So there you go. Again, very old school on that one. We put that out in 2008. There's just so much more we could have put out regarding Building 7. Obviously, could have put the Silverstein stuff out. Since then, we have more documentation in the lawsuits involving Silverstein via the Dark Overlord drops that nobody talks about, that really, to this day, I think that I and maybe like two other people have done the definitive work on that as well, asking even more. Again, they had real names. They had way more documents than they let on with you. Max Cleland, for instance, in the film Fabled Enemies, who was on the 9/11 Commission, said, hey, this is a scam. He goes, first of all, the 9/11 Commission's not going to get to see all the documents, and then some people are going to get to see more documents than others. What is this? What is this? So it is what's quote-unquote called and coined the deep state. And these are international intelligence operations. Iran-Contra, for instance, which Peter Dale Scott talks about this. It involves a multitude of agencies and quote-unquote nation-states black ops to make that happen. You understand? It's not just one entity. So here is Peter Dale Scott in the film Invisible Empire talking about what the quote-unquote deep state is. But first, look, I need you to thumbs this up, subscribe, and share, and also let people know about what you just saw. Right now on X, we have a piddly 47 reposts. Not even 100 reposts, guys. Like, I get it if you can't physically donate. Please consider going over there on your account, liking, and then sharing that out there. Maybe Ron Johnson watches that, and that sparks some of the real direct questions and evidence that we should be looking at via Building 7 and beyond. Just a thought. Just a thought. So here he is, Peter Dale Scott on the deep state.
America went into a major mobilization, revived its defense industries, and we saw the civilian economy of America more and more skewed through the 50s. Already in Eisenhower's time, he could see it coming, that you were getting a larger and larger defense military component of the economy, which, unlike the rest of the economy, was very, very centrally organized about lobbying for more and more new weapons. It was the political skills of this military-industrial complex, which I think Eisenhower was really warning us about, and rightly. There is a military-industrial complex. Today, we see a situation where the civilian economy is really in tatters, and most of our civilian production has gone overseas. I gave a paper about all three of the big assassinations in the 60s, which was John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. And there are certain common denominators. I call these events deep events. We've become accustomed to the idea that every now and then something is going to happen, and we just know from the beginning we're not going to get to the bottom of it. And the more they happen, the more reconciled we've become to this state of affairs.
Peter Dale Scott nailing it. Nailing it. That film, 15 years old, still relevant today. So first and foremost, guys, I do want to thank you, because without you and people like you now over the past 2 decades, believe it or not, I wouldn't have been able to put that information out in such a powerful manner. There are still so many people that are not aware of a fraction of the information presented here. But I assure you once again that the stuff we talk about, it's not about this left and right paradigm, other than waking up those that are so entrenched and involved and absorbed by that mentality that we need to wake them out of it. Okay? That's what our job is, to present the truth and have discernment, and then demand, not only, it used to be investigate 9/11. Yeah, we need to do that just so we can start prosecuting the real criminals behind it. $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me, guys. Thank you so much for all those that have supported to me on the Buy Me a Coffee. Big donors, thank you so much. It's a great way to do it. There's also a PayPal link down below in the description if you're watching this video, and also crypto addresses. That's another great way to support the broadcast, because as we always say here, and we really mean it, and I mean it, it is not about left or right. It is all about right and wrong. Every day, all the time. And the right thing to do is bring this out into the forefront and go after those actually responsible. I absolutely love you guys. Could not do it without you. We will see you on the flip side.